Hey there, it's Mandy from Designer Chameleon. Today I'm going to be setting up my journal for September, and I'm going to be using the new Embracing Autumn sticker kit. If you're new to my channel, I come out with a new sticker kit every month, and the theme is voted on by my patrons over on Patreon. I was so excited when they chose this because I think the fall colors are just so saturated and just exciting to get into. Not that I'm ready for summer to be over, but I think these are going to be a lot of fun to play with. Each of my sticker kits always consists of 3 main sheets that is everything you need to set up your journal or your planner. And additionally, I like to create some coordinating sheets as part of the collection for some extra fun. These stickers are automatically delivered to members of my Patreon in the month of August, so depending on when you're watching this video, you still have a few more days to sign up and have them hit your mailbox. They will still be available in my shop, probably in a couple more weeks. When I start my setup for every month, I use one of my simple calendar printables. It makes it quick and easy to get your month started. This one is available to all of my patrons over on Patreon, as are all of my downloads. And all I did was print it out, and I'm going to clip those corners so that they fit nicely in my Archer and Olive journal. In previous months, I've added washi tape to these cover calendar pages, but this month I'm going to leave it just as is. I think it's got enough, and we'll move on into our setup for the currently pages. This month I do have quite a few different things that I'm going to be doing in my journal. First of all, I went ahead and penciled in all of the layouts. This isn't something that I normally do, or at least normally to this detail, but I'm excited to see how it helps me get everything positioned properly and spaced out the way that I want it a little bit better so that what I'm creating in my head actually translates to the page. I'm also pulling out my gouache paint once again. I really wish I could say I've had more of an opportunity to play with it. I want to, I think about it all the time, but you know, life gets in the way. So I haven't had a lot of opportunity to play with this paint, so I figured this would be a great chance for me to work on just color blending and how the paint reacts to the paper, the thickness, depending on how much water you add. So I'm kind of combining my journal setup for the month with a little time for experimentation with the paint. To set up this currently spread, as well as a spread that I'm going to be doing for my top 10 goals this fall, some new scheduling pages, and also a transition into my next BUJO spread that I have planned, I want to take the paint and basically make a consistent theme throughout. So I went ahead and decided to take the red, orange, and yellow and make those my primary colors in this layout. It was very hard for me not to go with the purple and plummy tones, but I figured I use so much purple so frequently, this was a great opportunity to try the yellows and reds and oranges that are really so intrinsic to fall. I knew that I wanted to use these little blanket stacks to go down the middle of the page, but I had a huge difficult time trying to figure out which colors and which ones should go where, so I ended up lifting and resticking quite a few times, more than I'm proud to admit. But after all of my indecision and rearranging, I'm happy with how they laid out, and I can go ahead and move on to adding in the headers and each of the different prompts for my currently spread. I like to have a currently spread for every single month so that I can look back and see what was, going on in my life, what was I interested in. I've really enjoyed it, and it's a theme that I've kept up the entire year. I haven't missed a month yet, and I'm really proud of that, especially as we're going into fall. I decided these little paper shopping bags would be the perfect little mix into this theme because they have that brown paper bag kind of a feel, and for whatever reason, that's just a fall color to me. So I'm going to go ahead and use those to match up with each of my prompts. When I finished the page, I went ahead and flipped over and completed basically the same layout on the second page of currently prompts to get them all filled in before I went on to my new schedule page for my Patreon and my social media. I've been trying really hard to come up with a good schedule that I can stick to that makes sense for the different launches of stickers, whether they're a sticker kit or a whole new collection, or even just something that I've created at random throughout the month, and that gets really tricky for me while I'm trying to figure out what to put on social media, as well as the different items that I'm adding to my Patreon and the different, things that I let them in on throughout the month. And I thought that having a spread where I could capture all of that as basically a look back would be really helpful for me in the months going forward, so that I can see what was working and what didn't work, and basically tweaking my timeline as I go. What I'm hoping for with this layout in particular is I'm keeping it separate, so I have everything related to my Patreon on one page and everything related to social media on the other page, but they're still together. I can see them both at a glance and not get them mixed up in my mind, which has been something, again, that's tricky for me, and I'm really hoping that this layout will be a winner. When I finished the lettering, I decided that I really just wasn't happy with it. I didn't think that it was balanced enough, and I didn't think that it all lined up properly, so my first thought was painting over it, which I definitely gave a good college try, but it didn't work out. You could still see it through the paint, and I figured I could add a few more layers, but maybe I should just kind of go with it. Sometimes things don't turn out perfectly, and it is what it is. The next spread I'm adding this month is a top 10 fall goals. I know that there are quite a lot of things that I'd like to get accomplished this fall, both heading into the holiday season and heading into a fresh new year, and I thought having a page where I could think that through and consolidate those top 10 goals would be really helpful. I think in my next bullet journal, which I'll be switching to next month, I can take those goals and really work through how to accomplish them. So this gives me a nice head start. When I was doing the pencil layout for this one, I had the hardest time breaking up all the quadrants equally so that I would have at least a pretty close representation of 10 spaces. If anyone has great tips for me on laying out my page and not pulling my hair out when I have to move things around constantly, I would love to hear them in the comments. I'm so bad at figuring out spatially what needs to go where, and I get really nervous when I have to actually apply the final product to the page, because I tend to, like you saw in the last spread, think that it lines up, and it doesn't. Perfectly lined up or not, I think this spread turned out pretty cute. I definitely love all of the early fall elements, the sunshine, kind of sunrise, golden and orange tones, and I'm ready to move on to my next spread, which is basically a list of things that I want to either remember to include or remember to showcase when I'm moving forward into my next bullet journal. I actually purchased a brand new bullet journal about a month and a half ago, I suppose. It is another Archer and Olive, only in a different color, and I've been looking at it longingly sitting on my shelf. There's nothing better than opening a brand new journal. I can't wait to show it to you next month. I haven't even cracked it. It's so perfect and pristine in its box, and I know that you'll be excited to take a look at it with me too. If you enjoy watching unboxing of new journals and these kinds of monthly setups, I really hope you'll consider giving my video a like, as well as subscribing and ringing the bell so that you're notified as soon as that video gets uploaded. My plans for this next journal are to continue obviously with my weekly spreads and my currently spreads, so that I can maintain all of that opportunity to look back at what was going on in my life and what was important, as well as incorporating some of these types of spreads that I'm doing right now, which is more goal setting, planning, vision for the future kind of things. So I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be a bit of a change, and I think that that's always something that's fun to have with the bullet journal, because you can morph them basically to whatever is working for you. This next spread I'm building is what I'm calling my Venti ideas. If you're a coffee drinker, hopefully that makes you smile like it makes me smile. Venti being a size of a large coffee at Starbucks, something that I always enjoy. Even though I'm generally more of a grande girl, Venti ideas just sounds more fun. They're bigger, so why not? This spread also incorporates a lot of the little coffee to-go cups that I added to this collection. If you've been with me for a while and you're familiar with my sticker kits, you might recognize these little to-go cups from my coffee collection that I did last year. I brought them forward into this group with a little bit of leaves and a little fall tint to them. I thought it was a nice way to mix the old and the new, and if you have any stickers left over from that collection, you can mix them in as well, which is always a little bit fun. When I put this spread together, I wanted to make sure that it was very freeform. I usually do a lot more structure to my page layouts, and I wanted this to be super loose so that it gave me the opportunity to throw an idea on the page wherever I wanted. I didn't want to feel like I had to have a certain number of ideas, a certain structure to my ideas. I wanted a place where I can make it just flow from my brain to the paper. So hopefully this layout will prove to work for that. Now that I have a place to pour all of my Venti ideas for my next bullet journal, I can go ahead and start laying out the actual first week of September. September starts on a Wednesday, so for me, just the way that I do my journaling, my page layout will start on a Wednesday as well, which gives me a big section at the top left and the bottom right with this page layout to add a lot more decoration and have a little bit more fun. I knew that I wanted to pull in some more of the signs, and also it gave me the opportunity to use the little pieces of leftover leaves from the previous spread. I always have a hard time deciding which of the day stickers to use first. In this collection, I have fluffy pillows as well as these little mason jars with burlap through the center or wound around the jar itself. I ended up in the end going with the little jars. I kind of have to say, I think they're adorable, and I was trying to go for a milk paint effect, which I really think came through. To wrap up this spread, I went with one more sign and a little bit of the plaid washi tape strips, and I think it turned out really, really cute. I know I'll be looking forward to using it for the first week in September. With my first weekly layout all ready to go, it's time for a quick flip through. All in all, I'm pretty happy with how everything turned out, especially mixing in some of the new page spreads that I did for my Patreon and my social media calendar. I think that those are going to prove to be really handy, as well as the spreads that I did for different goals and things that I would like to accomplish before fall is over and as we're going into the new holiday season. I can't believe that that's just around the corner. It's sneaking up on us, but I kind of think it does that every year. So hopefully you had fun planning with me and putting these layouts together. I hope that I gave you some ideas and inspiration for your own pages as you prepare for September. And before I go, just like always, I'd like to give you a glimpse at what some of the people who have purchased stickers from my shop or are members of my Patreon have put together with my designs recently. If you use anything from my shop, please remember to tag me on Instagram so that I'm certain to see it and maybe I'll be able to feature you next time.